Hi, everyone. Welcome to Upper Room Ministries. Good to be with you again as we continue in our study of the book of Job. Well, when we last left off, we finished up chapter 21. And now we're in chapter 22, where Eliphaz again goes into one of his tirades on Job, where he insists that Job is guilty of wickedness. Now let's pick up in chapter 22. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, "Can a man be profitable to God, though he who is wise may be profitable to himself? Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that you are righteous, or is it gain to him that you make your ways blameless?" Yes. That's sarcasm, by the way, that he's using there. Verse 4. Is it because of your fear of him that he corrects you and enters into judgment with you? Is not your wickedness great and your iniquity without end? Okay, now he's not being sarcastic. For you have taken pledges from your brother for no reason, and stripped the naked of their clothing. You have not given the weary water to drink, and you withheld bread from the hungry. Wow. I don't know where he's getting this from. But I guess he's just assumed it must be what happened. But the mighty man possessed the land, and the honorable man dwelt in it. You have sent your widows away empty, and the strength of the fatherless was crushed. Therefore snares are all around you, and sudden fear troubles you, or darkness so that you cannot see, and an abundance of water covers you. Is not God in the height of heaven, and see the highest stars, how lofty they are? And you say, what does God know? Can he judge through the deep darkness that clouds over him so that he cannot see, and he walks above the circle of heaven? Perhaps Eliphaz is accusing Job of thinking that what I do in the dark, God can't see. Sounds like that's what he's saying. Instruction from his mouth, and lay up his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be built up. You will remove iniquity far from your tents. Again, one of the many cries to Job to repent. 24. Then you will lay your gold in the dust, and the gold of Ophir among the stones of the brooks. Yes, the Almighty will be your gold and your precious silver. For then you will have delight in the Almighty. Kind of sounds like he's accusing Job of trusting more in his riches than in God. Well, Job really doesn't have any riches anymore, does he? This is more like rubbing salt in the old wound, isn't it? All right. For then you will have your delight in the Almighty and lift your face to God. You will make your prayer to him, and he will hear you. And you will pay your vows. You will also declare a thing, and it will be established for you, so light will shine on your ways. When they cast you down, and you will say, exaltation will come. Then he will save the humble person. He will even deliver one who is not innocent. Yes, he will be delivered by the purity of his hands. Job's response in chapter 23. Then Job answered and said, even today my complaint is bitter. My hand is listless because of my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come to his seat. I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would know the words which he would answer me. and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in his great power? No, but he would take note of me. There the upright could reason with him, and I would be delivered forever from my judge. Now he talks about presenting his case, his argument before the judge. Well, we've seen Job talk about having an advocate and arguing his case. Again, this is all a precursor to the role of the Messiah, dictating that how in heaven he will be our advocate, against the accuser, which is the enemy. It's all detailed in Hebrews. Anyway, verse 8. Look, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. When he works on the left hand, I cannot behold him. When he turns to the right hand, I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. Now that's there's some self-confidence for you. When I'm tested, I will be as gold. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have kept his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. So he's pretty much rebuking Eliphaz of accusing him of any kind of wickedness. 13. But he, God, is unique, and who can make him change? And whatever his soul desires, that he does. For he performs what is appointed for me, and many such things are with him. Therefore I am terrified at his presence. When I consider this, I am afraid of him. For God made my heart weak, and the Almighty terrifies me, because I was not cut off from the presence of darkness, and he did not hide deep darkness from my face. Job continues in chapter 24. Since times are not hidden from the Almighty, why do those who know him see not his days? Okay. This he might be talking about why are those who knowing him maybe not seeing his judgment fall on the wicked? The wicked seem to be getting away with everything. That's possible. All right, verse 2. Some remove landmarks. They seize flocks violently and feed on them. Okay, let's go back to the first part. Some remove landmarks. Now, why is this is a very serious crime for that time, because back in the Middle East, stealing landmarks was the equivalent of stealing land. Without those landmarks, nobody can say which land is his and which land is not his. So again, that's a very, very serious offense there. Okay, going down verse 3. They drive away the donkey of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox as a pledge. They push the needy off the road. All the poor of the land are forced to hide. Indeed, like wild donkeys in the desert, they go out to their work, searching for food. The wilderness yields food for them and for their children. They gather their fodder in the field and glean in the vineyard of the wicked. They spend the night naked without clothing and have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains and huddle around the rock for warmth of shelter. Some snatch the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge from the poor. They cause the poor to go naked without clothing. And they take away the sheaves from the hungry. They press out oil within their wells, and tread wine presses, yet suffer thirst. The dying groan in the city, and the souls of the wounded cry out. Yet God does not charge them with wrong. Mm. Yeah. I guess now he's kind of feeling sorry for himself. He says, I'm innocent and I'm suffering here, and yet those who aren't innocent aren't suffering. That's what I'm getting here. Verse 13. There are those who rebel against the light. They do not know its ways, nor abide in its paths. The murderer rises with the light. He kills the poor and needy. And in the night he is like a thief. The eye of the adulterer waits for twilight, saying, no eye will see me, and he disguises his face. In the dark they break into houses, which they marked for themselves in the daytime. They do not know the light, for the morning is the same to them as the shadow of death. If someone recognizes them, they are in the terrors of the shadows of death. They should be swift on the face of the waters. Their portion should be cursed in the earth, so that no one would turn into the way of their vineyards. As drought and heat consume the snow waters, so the grave consumes those who have sinned. The womb should forget him. The worm should feed sweetly on him. He should be remembered no more, and wickedness should be broken like a tree. For he preys on the barren who do not bear, and does no good for the widow. But God draws the mighty away with his power. He rises up, but no man is sure of life. He gives them security, and they rely on it. Yet his eyes are their ways. They are exalted for a little while, then they are gone. They are brought low. They are taken out of the way like all others. They dry out like the heads of, even if the moon does not shine, and the stars are not pure in his sight, much less a man who is a maggot, and a son of man who is a worm. Yeah. I guess these are his responses to Job's rhetorical questions at the end of chapter 24. Yeah. Talks about the wicked, but then he throws it back, how can any man be righteous? Okay, chapter 26. But Job answered and said, how have you helped him who is without power? How have you saved the arm that has no strength? How have you counseled one who has no wisdom? And how have you declared sound advice to many? To whom have you uttered words, and whose spirit came from you? Obviously questioning whether his friend's words really did come from God, if they're really speaking with godly wisdom. Verse 5. The dead tremble, those under the waters, and those inhabiting them. Sheol is naked before him, and destruction has no covering. He stretches out the north over the empty space. He hangs the earth on nothing. Now, did you catch that? He hangs the earth on nothing. You know, there are, you go back to ancient ideas about the earth, and they think, well, the earth must rest on something. You know, some say it might be, some even suggested maybe it's like a giant turtle. Maybe the earth, that's what the earth is sitting on. All kinds of possibilities. But here, Job declares he hangs the earth on nothing. Now, how would he know that? I mean, nobody's ever done any kind of space exploration. But that's just divine wisdom right there, folks. Right there. Yeah. You'll find a lot of other scientific references in Job, just so you know. Now, really a fascinating book, to discover when you read all kinds of insights on the earth and space and whatnot. Anyway, he binds up the water in his thick clouds, yet the clouds are not broken under it. He covers the face of his throne and spreads his cloud over it. He drew a circular horizon on the face of the waters at the boundary of light and darkness. Okay. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his rebuke. He stirs up the sea with his power, and by his understanding he breaks up the storm. By his spirit he adorned the heavens. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Indeed, these are the mere edges of his ways. Sorry. And how small a whisper we hear of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand? Okay, how small a whisper? Now, that reminds me of God speaking to Elijah in, no, not an earthquake or a storm, but a still small voice. Yes, God's voice can come in a gentle whisper, and yet his power is absolutely terrifying. Yeah. 27. Moreover, Job continued his discourse and said, "As God lives, who has taken away my justice?" I'm sorry. And the Almighty who has made my soul bitter, as long as my breath is in me, and the breath of God in my nostrils. My lips will not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Far be it from me that I should say you are right till I die. I will not put away my integrity from me. So Job still insists that he is a man of integrity. It's not about to be taken from him, and he's not going to stop believing he's a man of integrity, in spite of what his friends insist on. Verse 6. My righteousness I hold fast and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me as long as I live. May my enemy be like the wicked, and he who rises up against me like the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite? Though he may gain much, if God takes away his life, will God hear his cry when trouble comes upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call on God? I will teach you about the hand of God. I'm sorry. What is with the Almighty I will not conceal. Surely all of you have seen it. Why then do you behave with complete nonsense? This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors received from the Almighty. If his children are multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those who survive him shall be buried in death, and their widows shall not weep. Though he heaps up silver like dust and piles up clothing like clay, he may pile it up, but the just will wear it. Yeah. And the innocent will divide the silver. He builds his house like a moth, like a booth which a watchman makes. The rich man will lie down, but will not be gathered up. He opens his eyes, and he is no more. Terror overtakes him like a flood. A tempest steals him away in the night. The east wind carries him away, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls against him and does not spare. He flees desperately from its power. Men shall clap their hands at him and shall hiss him out of his place. So that's his tirade upon the wicked and the foolish man. Yes, his friends have had their say on the wicked and their faith, and now Job is having his. Chapter 28. Surely there is a mine for silver, and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper is smelted from ore. Man puts an end to darkness, and searches every recess for ore in the darkness of the shadow of death. He breaks open a shaft away from people in places forgotten by feet. They hang far away from men. They swing to and fro. At the roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eye sees every precious thing. He dams up the streams from trickling. What is hidden, he brings forth to light. Now he talks. So here he is. He's talking about hidden treasures. Found underneath the earth. Iron, copper, gold, and silver, sapphires. These are things that no animal knows about. No animal can dig up. Only man can do that. But then he shifts in verse 12 here. It says, "But where can wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man does not know its value, nor is it found in the land of the living." Oh, catch that. Wisdom is not found in the land of the living. Yeah. All this worldly wisdom is not really wisdom at all. True wisdom comes from God. The deep says, "It is not in me," and the sea says, "It is not with me." It cannot be purchased for gold, nor can silver be weighed for its price. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire. Neither gold nor crystal can equal it, nor can it be exchanged for jewelry of fine gold. No mention shall be made of a coral or quartz. The price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Ethiopia cannot equal it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. But where then does wisdom come? And where is this place of understanding? All this came prior to Solomon, and all of his praise of wisdom, in the book of Proverbs. Okay. So wisdom preceded Solomon. How about that? And where is this place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all the living, and concealed from the birds of the air. Destruction and death say, "We have heard a report about it with our ears." God understands its way, and he knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees under the whole heavens, to establish a weight for the wind and a portion by the waters by measure. When he made a law for the rain and a path for the thunderbolt. The law for the rain is like the water cycle. Mm-hmm. Path for the thunderbolt, straight. The lines. 27. Then he saw wisdom and declared it. He prepared it, indeed, he searched it out. And to man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and depart from evil is understanding. All right. Well, that's Job's speech on wisdom. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. And we shall be in chapter 29 when we resume next time. Until then.